I ended up with alcohol poisoning in 1998, self-induced, and after that I could only have 2 drinks and I'd feel sick in my stomach and everything was a bit of a mess. So I had to change what I was doing out of a commitment to my well-being. Didn't know what was wrong with me. What I did know is the alcohol was not doing the service for me anymore. So I had to make a commitment to actually follow through with that decision. Now, a lot of people, when I sacrificed the alcohol, people didn't really know what to do. So when we're trying to fit in to the world, a lot of people, we actually try to fit in through substances and connections and all of these things, like doing yoga and all of these sorts of things that actually make us feel like we're part of something. But what happens when your health actually can let you down? What do you do when your health is actually letting you down? You have to stop these things which were normally social. So,
hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems, and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. We're going to be talking about health and commitment today. And one of the challenges that a lot of people face is actually how to commit to their well-being and how to keep it going and how to keep striving towards bigger and better health. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background around this. When I was working as a therapist, I realized that I had to start changing some things. So one of the things I started doing was getting rid of things. So health is actually not more about what you don't do than what it is that you do. So what I had to do at the time, I was just wanting to make sure that I would be the best therapist I could be. I got rid of a whole bunch of things. So I got rid of alcohol, coffee, chocolate, and white meat, don't ask me why, and marijuana, all in one day. And the reason why I did this is because I started running my commitments and started taking my value around my health really, really seriously. And since I started the academy, I've done more. I've sacrificed, I've taken more out of my intake, and it's been better for me. Now, one thing about health and commitment, it's probably one of the hardest zones and the hardest areas to do, because we socialize through food and drink. So how do you commit to something when you're hanging out with a whole bunch of people who do all the same things, and you've got all your friends and you've got all the commitments that you have, especially when we're coming into Christmas time, where everyone is socializing, having a great time, and making sure that we're enjoying ourselves. So usually what we do when we're going to celebrate, we'll use alcohol and sweets. And they are our standard things that actually allow us to, on our sensitivities and the way that we are, is to help us feel good. So they don't actually make your body feel good. It's what we do when we are just socializing. These are the things that we do. So we have a cake for our birthday, and we celebrate with a wine or a beer. So one thing I had to do early in my world is I had to get rid of alcohol for another reason, because I ended up with alcohol poisoning in 1998, self-induced, and after that I could only have 2 drinks and I'd feel sick in my stomach and everything was a bit of a mess. So I had to change what I was doing out of a commitment to my well-being. Didn't know what was wrong with me. What I did know is the alcohol was not doing the service for me anymore. So I had to make a commitment to actually follow through with that decision. Now, a lot of people, when I sacrifice the alcohol. People didn't really know what to do. So when we're trying to fit in to the world, a lot of people, we actually try to fit in through substances and connections and all of these things, like doing yoga and all of these sorts of things that actually make us feel like we're part of something. What happens when your health actually can let you down? What do you do when your health is actually letting you down? You have to stop these things which were normally social. So let's say you go with your dad to the football, you like going to football, and you have a beer and a pie, but the pie is actually beating you up. Not the beer, the pie is, because your body's not coping with, let's say, the gluten that's inside of it. So what we want to learn to figure out how to do is work out what is going to help you run your health and your commitment levels. And it's the hardest thing to do, because emotionally, what we do is we eat and drink through our emotions. So we do that to cover up how we're feeling and how we're thinking. So once we actually understand the things that are underlying the reasons why we're actually eating and drinking, then we can actually change them based on our habits. So you might have, so typically with our bodies, we're looking for particular things when it comes to particular substances that we take. So alcohol, for instance, is a depressant. So that's what they've figured out. So it actually stops you from feeling depressed, or it blocks and masks that feeling of depression, so people can get through their days. So there's a reason why people do it. I remember a couple of times where I've worked with people who are really built on drinking a lot of alcohol, and I've said to them, it's and underneath that they've had suicidal thoughts or suicidal tendencies. So what I've had to do is actually help them understand that thank God the alcohol was there, otherwise they might have taken their life. So sometimes our food intake is there to stop us from making really difficult decisions that we would regret in life. So then if we look at the sweets part are about our sweetness of life, because that's the pancreas. The pancreas deals with our sugars and all of those sorts of things. So when we are not coping with our sugar intake, or we're not coping with the sweetness of life, we're not coping there, we'll have sugar to actually lift that feeling in lots of ways. So we have these substances to make us feel better. And type 2 diabetes is one of the biggest killers in Australia. If you are watching this and you live in Australia, it's actually not diabetes that's doing that. Typically, it's actually our sugar intake. So there's a doctor who actually I can't remember his name is now, that he was talking about how he was a surgeon doing heart surgery, and he realized that sugar was the main reason that corrodes the valves and arteries in the heart, which is really, really interesting, because people are constantly thinking that it's cholesterol, and there's new science out that shows otherwise. So what do we do when when we're not coping and we're wanting to feel good? We'll go and turn to something that's going to make us feel better. So that's our general sweets. So these are the things that we've got to learn to be able to do when we're focusing on our commitments to our well-being, commitments to health, and understanding what are your underlying emotions that are holding you back from creating that health routine that's going to hold you in a really good stead. Now, there's people who overdo with health. So these are the people who go to the gym and they've got the six-pack and they're making sure they look good. Now, what are they doing? So they may look healthy, but maybe they're not healthy on the inside. So I've worked with a lot of elite athletes over the years, and if they break a limb or something goes wrong and they're really highly fueled by their exercise, they end up in a real mess because they can't move. So there's people who are highly motivated and go right to the extreme on their health routine. They're not necessarily as healthy as you may think. And a lot of the time they're using health or exercise as a way to get through life, because they don't feel good about themselves. So they feel good when they're looking good. And this is the standard thing that a lot of people do when they're focusing on their health and well-being. So there's so many facets that we can think about when we're thinking about our health commitments. And I was on a call just the last week, and quite often when people are hanging out with me, people think, oh, I can't be unhealthy because I'm hanging out with Jason and I run the academy. And now I don't tell anyone what they should and shouldn't do in our academy. I just look at If someone's doesn't have the energy, I'll look at what's unhealthy in their psychology, their thoughts, and putting in their body, and what's actually holding them back from creating a really good health routine for themselves. And it's many, many facets that do that. So if you're looking at health, it's not just your physical well-being that really matters. It's your mental health, it's your emotional health. A lot of people don't talk about emotional health. One thing I learned when I was first started working with people as a therapist, that emotions are stuck in the cells and memories stuck in the cells. And I use techniques to actually help unhook memories out of the cells and change them. So one thing I want to hand to you is thinking about, well, what do you want to do with your health commitments? So for you, you might be completely fine having alcohol. That could be something that could be perfectly fine for you to have. There's nothing wrong with the choices that you make. What you've got to look at is, if you want to create health commitments, focus on what's going to actually be right for you and your body, because everybody's body is really, really different. So I don't tell people what I would do. I focus on what is the right thing to do for your specific body. And I know a lot about the body. I know a lot about health. The reason being because my body is like a bubble boy. People, one of my friends, Linda, calls me bubble boy all the time, because I have to be really careful with my intake. So I don't have necessarily a strong body. So when someone comes to me with a weakness, I can look and go, okay, it might be this, it might be that, to help people overcome whatever it is that they're coming through. There's a lady in our academy, I'm pretty sure she's on one of our podcasts. She's sorted herself out her Hashimoto's. She realized that she needed to make sure she does a few things to look after her throat and her communication, all of those sorts of things, and she reversed the Hashimoto's. So there's a lot of psychology that comes along around what we need to learn around our health commitments. Now, for you, if you're listening right now, you'll have things that you know that you need to change that are unhealthy for you. And we always say, I need to change. I've got to make this difference. And quite often when you do that, you're actually putting a lot of pressure on your changes. So I'm one of those people who just presses a button and says, enough's enough, and I stop. Not everybody can do that. So if you're in that place where you really struggle, the first thing you've got to do is, well, why do I need this? Is it owning me? How can I own it? And it might mean that you choose to reduce rather than let go of. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you just got to figure out what you can reduce, what you can let go of, so you can start running a health commitment to yourself. So one thing I know that in life, there's one thing that we have to learn to be able to be in control of, and it's probably the thing that we're least in control of in lots of ways. We can be. It's what we put in our bodies, right? So we can actually choose what we get to put in our bodies these days. So why is it that Australia is, in first world countries, I think it still is, number one obese in the world? Well, if we can't control what we're putting in our bodies, obviously, and we don't. Health is not the greatest asset that Australian people have. The same with America. So how come first world countries, when there's enough education, enough information around what's the right thing to do, that we don't know how to do this? The reason why is a lot of our stuff around health is subconscious, and we don't know how to actually do what's right for our bodies. So this is what we teach in our academy, to help people build a frame so they can actually figure out, well, what is it that they're doing with their body so they can change it. Now, this is, if you're in that place where you want that health routine sorted out, this is one of the facets that we do in our academy to help people find their value in their health and find out, well, what is it they're stopping, what's stopping them from creating their value in their health and well-being. So guys, if you want some help around this, come and jump on our academy to find out what we do. Jump on a call. We can always have a bit of a chat about what it is that you can do, especially entrepreneurs. One thing a lot of entrepreneurs do is they sacrifice their health for their wealth. And it's really, really common. So a lot of people get sick and in a place and replace it with money. And I know a lot of people who end up having a forced experience around their health. Wouldn't it be nicer if we could all do health prevention rather than health reaction? And this is what our job is in our world, is to create health prevention, which is what I'm really focused on with the work that we do in our academy. So if you would like some help with this, find out what we're doing, and we can give you a little bit of a hand. Health is the paramount thing that we need to learn, and the commitment around this is easier said than done in lots of ways. And so it's a matter of getting that support, getting that help, and knowing that there's another way of approaching. Hopefully this helps. And if you enjoyed this podcast and someone maybe wanting to gather the experiences of what you need to learn around your health and well-being, please like and share this one, so then the opportunity for someone who might need to hear this information has a chance to grab it. All right. Have an awesome day or evening wherever you are.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't buy it, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.